the book that influenced my life the most, I've never read. It's a science fiction book that my dad told me about, in which one of the characters lives in a little planet and it's far in the galaxy, and people from all over the world, leaders from all over the galaxy, come to him to ask for advice and opinions and help on how to run the galaxy and how to solve problems. And then at the end of the book, it turns out that that character has actually never traveled further than a kilometer or two outside of his house. What fascinated me about this idea was the integration of two opposites. This very, very simple lifestyle, on one hand, in which he had his little garden, he was going for walks, and he was very in touch with nature, very simple, humble kind of lifestyle. And then at the same time, he had an impact all over the galaxy, and he had great wisdom and knowledge and the ability to help others. And when my dad told me about that story, about that character, it always made me fantasize about whether it was possible, because it sounded like a cool integration of opposites. Jump 15 years later, 14 years later maybe, and I'm speaking with a retirement coach, a woman who helps people prepare for retirement. When I spoke with her, I asked her, about her work and how what she does is different than what I do with entrepreneurs, business owners. And what she explained to me had a profound impact on my life, which is that when people reach the stage of being retired, something interesting happens, that very often the kids are done with university and they're all living their lives and they may have kids of their own, so they're out, you don't need to look after your kids anymore. People have had a career, they've made a job, they've had a life, they've got some money, more or less, but they've got some sort of stability. They know what they're good at, they know what they've done. Their story is behind in a way. And so they don't feel the need to prove themselves. They've done what they had to do. And then they're all looking forward, thinking, well, when do I die? And that's the moment at which that thought really comes in. And she said, because of the combination of these things, what often happens is that people who get retired start going back to their childhood dreams. So that's the moment at which they remember what they wanted to do as a teenager that they've never done, because they had responsibilities, they had kids, they had to earn money, they had to do this, they had to be a good person, they had to behave in a certain way, and now they're like, you know what, fuck it. I've done everything I had to do for the last 50 or 60 years, now I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. And he says that most of the time, that is whatever they fantasized about when they were teenagers. A few weeks ago, I was sitting on my terrace on a Saturday after going to the food market where I meet all the locals. And it feels like a village market, where everybody knows each other. And you see all the kids running around with other parents because everybody looks after them. And where everybody is producing their own things by hand, and everybody cares about their produce and cares about the stuff that they prepare and they make. And I came back home, I did a little bit of work, coaching some clients in Holland, in the US. in Peru, and then I had a beautiful lunch and I started gardening. I just got a few new plants arriving and some new soil and bigger pots. So I started repotting things with the music in the background, hearing the sounds of the insects and the birds as you may hear them now. And suddenly, out of nowhere, as I was sitting there with my hand in the dirt, pulling a plant out of one pot, getting it ready to go into the next pot, I had a flashback of that story about that guy who lived that very simple life, in touch with nature, and who somehow had an impact all over the world. And at that moment, I was blown away by how close to that childhood fantasy my life had come. And yesterday, I met an Israeli girl with whom we shared both about our lives, what we do, where we come from, what happened. And she said something interesting, which is, she said that, wow, you just basically made your dream place a place you can never leave. I think it was a funny story, a funny way of putting it, because that's exactly what it was. I just made that dream place the reality I live in. And I did that by taking lots of little steps, every time following a little dream, following a little step, doing that one little thing that is scary, but that somehow, when I think about it, makes me smile, it makes me think, if that actually worked, how freaking cool would that be? And most of the time it doesn't work, let's be honest. So my invitation to you is two things. One is, what is your forgotten teenage dream? What dream did you have as a teenager that you've given up on because they're just not gonna happen? And two, what is a little dream you have now that makes you smile? A little something crazy, that seems crazy, but I think, if that were to work, how freaking cool would that be? When you have the answer to these two, you may choose to take action. And if you do, pop a comment under this video or message me privately. I would love to hear about the kind of actions you've taken.